meeting provisions per Governor Baker's extension. The public will not be allowed to physically access the school committee meeting. The meeting will be conducted hybrid. Please join me in the pledge of allegiance.
United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Public comment. Comments can be emailed in advance of the 6:30 p.m. start time to lran@whittier.tech.ma.us. All comments will be recorded to the record, and all attempts will be made to mention them live during the meeting. Any emails received during the meeting will be mentioned at the following meeting. Approval of minutes.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Tucker.
I move the approval of the minutes of December 14th, 2022, minutes of the regular school committee meeting.
Second.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Roll call vote. Mr. Early.
Yes.
Mr. Knight.
Yes.
Nice. Mr. Coppinger.
Yes.
Mr. Tucker.
Yes.
Mr. James.
Yes.
Dr. Testaverde.
Yes.
Mr. Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Mr. O'Connor.
Yes.
Mr. Wood.
Yes.
Ms. O'Connor.
Yes.
And Mr. Irving.
Aye.
Oh, it's true.
Yes.
Sorry. Treasurer's report. Do we have a motion for approval? So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments on the treasurer's report? January, December, rather. Okay, none being heard, roll call vote. Mr. Early.
Yes.
Mr. Noyce.
Yes.
Mr. Coppinger.
Yes.
Mr. Tucker.
Yes.
Mr. James.
Yes.
Dr. Testaverde.
Yes.
Mrs. True.
Yes.
Mr. Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Mr. O'Connor.
Yes.
Mr. Wood.
Yes.
Ms. O'Connor.
Yes.
Mr. Irving.
Aye.
Reports of communications. Student rep Taylor LeBlanc.
January 11th, 2023, January School Committee Report. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Superintendent Lynch, and all other school committee members. Boys varsity basketball is off to a 2-3 start with wins over Minuteman Tech and Ipswich High School. On Monday, we played Minutemen and won 62-45. Girls varsity basketball has a record of 2-4. We have 4 freshmen starting who are doing a great job. We played Minutemen and lost 58-50. The next game is Friday night against Low Catholic at home. Wrestling is off to a good start with 5-1 record in dual meets. Our schedule ramps up next week as we wrestle Shawsheen at Whittier on Thursday for a Vital League matchup. Hockey's record is 2-5. Their last game was against Triton, where they came up short 3-1. They're playing Rockport tomorrow at 7:45. Cheerleading has announced who will be taking the mat for competition. We are working on choreographing our routine for CACs in February. Skills USA just started the Framework Challenge. The slideshow is currently playing daily in the cafeteria. March 16th is Skills USA District 4 testing. Approximately 200 students are registered to take a test to determine if they will be moving on to the state conference in April. Multicultural Club gives their thanks to everyone who donated to the Coats for Kids drive. The Whittier community donated 50 coats and jackets to Anton's Cleaners, who work with local distributors to make sure children and families stay safe, warm, and cozy. Peer leadership carried out a candy cane gram event. Students were able to send candy canes with fun notes to their peers. Peer-to-Peer has 20 members and meet every other Tuesday. We are currently planning for an awareness table event and researching other fundraising activities. Interact Club was busy before the holidays filling out cards for area nursing homes. We delivered 242 cards, which included all the residents at the Oxford House, the Lakeview House, and Baker Katz Nursing Home. Chess Club is going strong with new members signing up each day. We are still having our first tournament, which is taking months because the players are so evenly matched. Student government is looking ahead at 2023 with excitement. We will be sharing some of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s poetry with the school community in January and possibly working on an early spring pep rally. We will hold elections for next year in early June. United Nations is currently debating the impact of social media on the world. We have been invited to a conference at Northeastern University sponsored by the UN Association of Greater Boston in March, focusing on mental health. Robotics students are progressing learning to program shieldbots and drones. Environmental Club is continuing to take care of our endangered Blandings turtles from Parker River Watershed Council. We are also continuing to work with CAD on designing and manufacturing our tree identification signs. Ski Club had a very successful first trip. We had 41 students attend the night skiing trip to Pat's Peak in Henniker, New Hampshire. Our next trip is Friday, February 3rd. Drama is currently in rehearsals for the musical Mamma Mia. The show is playing March 17th through 19th. Art Club has about 32 participants. Students are working on painting, drawing, and pottery. Students also have the opportunity to work on their midterm projects. GSA hosted the Haverhill Police Department at our last meeting. 3 patrol officers were present to share community resources as well as to collect feedback from the students. Whittier Tech also hosted a successful GSA Leadership Council meeting where about 50 students and advisors attended from Northeast Region and worked on lesson plans and slides for self-care and community care. DECA went to districts and are now preparing for spring, which will be all about fundraising. Poetry was excited to ring in the new year with our first meeting, which involved writing, poetry, and brainstorming how we'll celebrate National Poetry Month in April. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Taylor? Good job.
What's
Thank
the
you.
biggest sport in school, you think?
Biggest sport?
Wrestling, football, soccer?
I think football is really big with like JV and freshman as well. A lot of people do
I see
football.
the wrestlers are
Yeah,
always big too.
yeah, there's a lot of people.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great job.
Superintendent's report. Ms. Lynch.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Tonight before you, I have some personnel action for informational purposes. I have the hire of an English instructor. I have the hire of our vacation boot camp, which you'll hear about a little bit later, about how successful it was. I have hired for our evening school program, and I have resignations of an English instructor and a cafeteria worker. The budget update, the executive committee met earlier this evening for the FY 24 budget. At this meeting, we began with a 6.71% increase, which hopefully will be reduced by the next meeting. As I explained earlier, with a new governor, she does not have to provide us our Chapter 70 money until the end of February. We're hoping to get it earlier so that we'll have hopefully a more productive meeting in February, but there may be a need to have a meeting in between our February and our March meeting. There's not an MCAS update at this time. School building update, we continue to meet weekly with the architects and our OPM. We'll be interviewing our CMR in the next month or so. We've reached out to hire a firm to review our regional agreement and help us understand how we reach approval for this school budget. The law firm KP Law works with many of our other cities and towns. The law firm recently sent out a letter to those cities and towns to let them know that we are hoping to work with them. And they want to make sure there's no concerns regarding a conflict with Whittier and or any of those cities or towns. So hopefully in the next month, we'll start beginning that work. As far as superintendent's update, on Thursday, December 15th, I hosted a superintendent luncheon. The superintendents from Newburyport, Ipswich, Pentucket, Georgetown, Triton were all in attendance. On Thursday, December 15th, there was a commissioner call. He went over the increase in respiratory illnesses and emergency licensure. On Friday, December 16th, I attended the North Shore Superintendent's Roundtable with Ms. Cosmas for the holiday luncheon. On Monday, December 19th, the Associate Commissioner Elizabeth Bennett had a vocational technical call. On Tuesday, December 20th, I attended the Haverhill City Council meeting along with Kara Cosmas and Dick Early to discuss our building project. On Tuesday, January 3rd, Ms. Cosmas and our OPM met with Mayor Fiorentini in Haverhill, and we discussed our upcoming building project. And he was very helpful in helping us with that. On Wednesday, January 4th and January 11th, I attended our weekly executive project meetings. On Tuesday, January 10th, I attended the Merrimack Valley Chamber of Commerce meeting. And today, January 11th, I had a virtual meeting with Congresswoman Trahan's office, along with our new state legislators. There's many new state legislators in this area to discuss our MSBA project and the financial impact on our community. So I really want to thank Congresswoman Trahan for putting that meeting together. And she is actually coming here, I believe, February 13th for a tour. So, and that is all I have for you tonight.
Thank you. Principal's report.
Oh,
Learning
Oh,
loss.
Sorry, learning loss.
so as many of you know, and I've spoken about this group, our learning loss facilitators. They have done amazing work this year, and I really wanted you to meet them and hear a little bit about the work that they've done this year. So.
And where you're from?
Oh, sure.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Superintendent Lynch, and school committee members. It's a pleasure to be here with you guys this evening.
Pleasure to have you.
I'm Lauren Eiley, and this is my 15th year teaching in the Whittier community. I'm one of your learning loss coordinators this year, one of the freshman class advisors, and a teacher in our science department. This school year started with a shared vision of being the best vocational school in the state. We're on our way. From the school, some of the things we have worked hard to do to provide consistency across all of our disciplines is we created department goals, which has been really a great way for our departments to stay focused and have like common goals. We've created a common syllabus for every class, so there are consistent goals and expectations in every academic and vocational area. We have implemented a tiered response for students who are struggling or at risk to meet all student needs. At this time, I would like to introduce this year's learning loss coordinators.
Good evening. My name is Patrick Allen. I'm a history teacher, as well as the chess club advisor. And this is my 25th year teaching here at Whittier.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Liz Texera. I am a math teacher here, the sophomore class advisor, as well as the AP liaison. This is my 13th year teaching here, and I'm from Somerville, the best place in the world.
I'm Katie Nichols. I have been here 15 years. I started with Lauren. So it's always great to be with my teammate. I am currently a special education teacher. I've been in that department for 2 years, 13 years. Before that, I was the reading specialist for Whittier. So it has been a great 15 years. I am originally from Somerville. I moved to Methuen and now I currently live in Salisbury on the beach, which is
Thank you.
fantastic. Yeah, I'm a learning loss coordinator, a former English cluster chair, and pretty much volunteer for anything I can get my hands in when it comes to literacy. So.
And I'm Max Beauregard. It's my 9th year at Whittier, and I'm in the science department. And I've coached soccer and basketball in the past, but I've got 2 young boys at home, so taking a break from those.
So this evening, we would like to share with you our initial goals as a group, an update on paper, not the kind you write on, but an app that's really helping meet student needs and learning in a variety of ways. How our team is working to provide students with learning loss, extra help, and how to be successful. How we are constantly striving to improve our curriculum and inclusion model to do what is right for students. And a report on the successful implementation of our December boot camp.
So the 5 of us were on the team last year with learning loss coordinators. And when we got together this year, we reflected on what we did last year, our progress, and what we wanted to do to move forward to meet the vision of the school's overall goal, with of course being the best. So we really had to consider what happened because of COVID and the lockdown. Not only do they need a little bit more academically, but they also need a little bit of a social emotional support as well. So our first focus was to give them extra help and intervention. And we started last year doing some extra learning loss tutoring where the learning loss coordinators give the students more opportunities or extra opportunities in addition to working with their teachers, either after school or during the day, to get caught up on work they may have missed because they were out, or if they just need a little extra assistance getting caught up on their skills. In addition, this year, we've added the paper app, which we'll talk a little bit more about, which gives the students an opportunity to have extra help 24/7, 365 days a year, which is pretty amazing. If the students are at home and need something, they can reach out virtually, of course, and ask for assistance from somebody. We also wanted to put a focus on reading. Of course, that is my personal passion. But really, we know that we're going to have several years of students who are going to be struggling readers. And it's important for us to basically start spreading the different strategies across all of the content areas, both academically and vocationally. Some of the supports that, or some of the strategies that we use to build skills in the English department and in the reading class really are universal tools that the kids can use across all of the areas. So really that's sort of in progress. We're still in the planning stages about how to get the teachers just to even have reminders up on the walls that the kids can use those different skills while they're in the different areas. And then, oh, one more thing. We also have the Power Up Lexia support, which is an online reading program that helps the students work on word study, grammar, and comprehension. So it helps remediate some of the issues. It meets all of the students where they are and raises their reading abilities up. So that's what we've implemented for those two. So focus 3 is writing. So not only is reading very important and sort of helping to remediate and accelerate skills in the area of reading, but also in the area of writing. So spreading out some of the tools that we're using in the English department across all of the content areas, academic and vocationally. All of the students are using this planning, editing, and revising tool that's basically highlighting and color coding their essay. And essentially it helps them to see the pieces that they need to add or the pieces that they may have forgotten. And it's a pretty simple tool to put across all of the zone, like all of the academic and vocational classes when the students are writing, of course. And then finally, another focus we wanted to work on is executive functioning, which essentially those are the tools that the students need to be successful at school as well as in the workplace. It's time management, organization, and flexibility, being able to adjust to whatever is going on in the moment. And then mindfulness, just sort of being present and aware of what's going on and being able to handle what's going on with them at that point in time. And both of those are being talked about in the advisory groups that we've been running this year and last year. Oh, and the year before that actually too. But this year we've really incorporated some of those things into the different presentations that we have with the kids. And then of course, in the PE class, we're also working on mindfulness, and I think Mr. Allen is the one that gets to focus on that with his groups.
I know you're all familiar with the Paper app, but I'm just here to give you a refresher. Paper is an application that's available on every student's iPad. The students are able to access this resource from anywhere at any time, as Katie mentioned. The students log on to the app and they're able to ask professionals questions, whether it's about homework or revising papers, or even about building their resume or cover letters. So it's really a useful tool, both in the academic and vocational areas. Our students have really gotten a lot out of this app, and we hope to continue to be able to use that. Thank you. And then for learning loss extra help, the way that we're utilizing this is through a teacher referral method. So the students work with their academic or vocational teachers first, and then those teachers identify that these students, maybe they're falling behind not just because of this one content area, but because there's actual gaps in their understanding and their previous knowledge. So we're working with those students to help build those fundamental skills to support them so that they can then excel and come back to grade level if that's where they need to be. We're providing one-on-one tutoring before school, after school, during some vacations. We're doing it all as much as we can get our hands on these kids to help them. In addition, we're really focusing on organizational skills. These skills are really important to help those students that lost these skills during the pandemic when they weren't necessarily needing to sit up and all that kind of stuff in their rooms. So we're working on those as well. It's really important to stress that not only during tutoring are we remediating, but we're also accelerating. That's really important to us. Thank you.
Right. So I'm going to talk about the boot camp that we just ran over the holiday break. We had 4 days, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, where students came in, and the students that attended either had failed term 1 and maybe were in danger of failing a class for term 2, missed their phys ed day, or had major attendance issues in the second quarter, whether it was for illness or whatever. And we had about 30 students attend. And some of the things that they worked on were those executive functioning skills that Liz mentioned. Passing work in on time, meeting deadlines, time management, staying organized. And so we had a curriculum that we put together sort of around that as the learning loss team. And then the teachers that worked with the students also helped them make up missing assignments. And again, build those skills to kind of keep them on track for the rest of the school year.
The next piece has to do with curriculum and assessment. So education is always a work in progress. We're always trying to refine what we're doing to meet our students' needs. So these are some of the areas that we've been conducting research in order to be informed in the decisions that we've been making. The first is in best teaching and learning strategies and practices is ongoing so that we can meet the needs of our unique, diverse student population. Also considering where our students are coming from, they're sending schools so that it could be as seamless of a transition as possible when they come into Whittier. Also looking at other vocational schools, how their programs are run, how their courses are structured, what sort of curriculum they teach, what sort of inclusion model that they use, as well as research-based practices in teaching and learning to ensure that all subgroups have access to advanced academics, which also includes our early college program that's been really successful, and more students are moving into that program, and also career readiness.
Thank you, Patrick. For our next steps, we would like to continue our research and implementation of our revised curriculum. We will continue to bring more rigor into our classrooms to promote responsibility and accountability to help our students with college and career readiness. We will continue reviewing assessment data in order to make determinations moving forward with the best practices for teaching our student population, as well as considering new ways to assess students to remediate and accelerate their skills. We would like to continue to meet the needs of all of our students by making improvements to our inclusion model. As educators, it's important to understand the changing and dynamic needs of our students and be willing to meet them where they are. We will always strive to be our best to do what is right for our students. Thank you for your time this evening. We greatly appreciate the opportunity to continue working with and helping our students. At this point, we would like to open up the floor for questions.
Mr. Tucker.
I just wanted to comment on the reading portion of your part. I'm started working with students around with chapter 1 program years ago. And my mother's a remedial reading teacher for 8th grade boys. And so I always felt that reading and writing was very important. So I'd like to offer you my support in that regard. The only other thing I wanted to mention was, we recognize you as learning loss people, the learning loss coordinators. What do you do when you're in the hallways with the students? Do you say, I gotta go to learning loss class? Or I gotta, I mean, how do they refer to you? You're just, average Joe teacher?
Yeah, often the students will just say they have tutoring. And
Tutoring.
that's what they call it, which is very normal. It's not like we're calling out students. Every 10th grader gets tutored for MCAS already. So it's kind of part of our vocabulary. So
tutor's a good way to put it. I
Yeah,
don't know if it's like, we gotta go to special class.
no.
All right, thank you very much, and I'd like to support you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Earl.
No, I'm gonna let my,
No,
Bobby.
go ahead.
it's funny that we're talking about this today. This morning I was listening to the news. It talks about how kids are falling behind more now than they were before the pandemic. Prior to the pandemic, they were probably 2 years, maybe 2.5 years behind. Now they're even more. And I just happened to hear that this morning. Tutoring is a big thing with me because a lot of people call me and I refer them to some tutors, blah, blah, blah. Tutoring is big, but how do you catch up 3 years? It's almost impossible. You know, it could take 4 or 5 years to catch some of this up. So I'm happy that we're on this. It is interesting when you're talking about paper app. Can you explain that a little more?
Sure, I'd love to. So let's take Taylor for instance. She's doing AP calculus with me. While Taylor's family may have done AP calculus, it's probably been a very long time since they've taken that course. So if she's studying for an exam and it's 9 o'clock at night, she can log on to this app and ask someone, I don't know how to take the derivative of this complicated function. And they can talk her through the steps. They won't give her the answer, but they'll say, how do you separate it? Is it a multiplication function? Is it a product rule or a quotient rule? They'll give her a lot of steps to help guide her through it, which is really nice. It's like a one-to-one tutor that's immediately available for you.
Human being.
It's a human being, yes. It seems to be a really great company. They're expanding a lot. So there's a little bit of delay when if she logged on, it might take a few minutes to connect to somebody, but it's really quick and it's really great.
It's interesting when you're talking about tutoring, because my grandson goes here, he's a sophomore. He's gone for extra help after class, after school, and I ask him, you really going for extra help? Because in the real world, there's no such thing as that. And I'm happy that we are focusing on it, because, like I said this morning, I was listening to that and there was a big, they were talking about it for a while and it's a big thing. How do we cure it?
It's really important. Thank you for mentioning that. It's really important that, as you said, there aren't those supports in the real world, but that we provide those supports here for our students so that we scaffold them so that they're ready to jump out into the real world and have real world jobs. If we don't provide those supports here, it's going to be a lot more difficult for them to transition, next year for Taylor or in 2 to 3 years for other students.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Two questions. Is there a paper trail for referrals? Okay, and that's generated through.
I clearly like to talk. Yes, there is. So we have a Google form that's a referral process. So a teacher will fill out the Google form and then one of us, depending on the subject area, will, kind of call that student. I'll be like, oh, I'll take this one. Maybe Patrick will say he'll take a different one. And then we'll meet with the teacher and get a real detailed understanding of where their lack of understanding is and what they would like us to help them with, and maybe try to find a plan. For example, I've been working with a plumbing student, which obviously, maybe not obviously to you, but I have no plumbing experience, but the child needs some help with the fractions so that he can cut pipe. So we're working on diagrams that the plumbing teacher is supplying, and then we're using measuring tools to actually do the calculations of where to cut the pipe. So we're documenting all of this using the Google form as well as, notebooks. But yes, we're definitely documenting. Thank you for asking that.
And the 30 kids who came to the winter program, breakup of years, freshman, sophomore.
10 through 12.
Yeah, okay.
15 of them were 11th graders.
Okay.
It was 12, 7, and 8 of the sophomore senior.
This is pretty impressive. We brought you to come here tonight on this. What brought this about?
Did you hear them? They're amazing.
I know.
I've been working with them this
It's great that
year.
we're hearing about it because the public can listen to this.
Superintendent Lynch has been really generous with her time, and she's been
We're generous with her.
she's been meeting with us. almost every other Tuesday, all year long. And we're really glad to kind of come here and show off all the really important and wonderful stuff that we're able to do.
Great job.
Thank you.
Mr. Deutsch, you have a
Yeah.
question?
Thank you. I was looking at the minutes from the October site council meeting, and it indicated that there was a lag in the turnaround for, I think, written products with the paper app. How's that resolved itself, or?
I can kind of jump in on that a little bit. So Paper is a new app.
Right.
And there are some states that bought the app. So
Oh.
the entire state bought the app, and I believe Mississippi was one of them. So they were having some growing pains as the school year started. And I think, we talked about that at our last meeting, that has kind of gotten a lot better. So, but that is the reason. It's just the company expanded so much and they didn't have enough to deal with the workload.
Yep. And my other question was the curriculum research group. Is the end product of that going to be a document?
Yeah, I think. I don't know if I like the word end product, because it's always in motion, right? But absolutely, yeah, once we sort of solidify what best practices we will adopt, that certainly will be moving that along to all of you.
Thank you.
Well,
Mr. O'Connor.
First of all, I just want to commend everybody on their enthusiasm and commitment. It's really amazing to watch, knowing that the kids are struggling, and you guys have pulled this together to try to help them along. So really just kudos to all of you for that. And has there been any sort of measurable improvement that you can see so far based on all the input that's gone in, or is it still sort of trying to figure that out?
That's really difficult.
Yeah.
In everything we do in education, we don't always see the measurable improvement until years later sometimes. But I do know that the students that we've been working with feel a lot more comfortable in their classes, which is always a really great win.
And Mr. Early mentioned
sorry,
real
Lawrence,
world there's not tutoring, but that's changing too. And I think the challenge that some of us that are older face is that lack of willingness to ask for help. And I think you're laying a foundation to get people more comfortable. It's what I've experienced. Once I was able to ask for help, there's countless people that are willing to offer it.
I think there's a lot of opportunities here for students to ask for help, but there's also a lot of teachers well beyond us that are helping identify students who need help. And I think that's a big part of this. And while we may not have any like measurable data showing like massive growth, I think that when you look at the individual students that we're working with, we're seeing huge gains in confidence, and they're not missing work. They're being more successful in their classes. So I think when you look at their grades and their attendance and things as they improve, I would say that is measurable and significant.
Good job. Thank you.
yeah,
If I
to
could-
add to that, another tangible result, for some of the students that I have and I teach, seniors who were absent a lot and attended the boot camp and were able to really catch up within those 4 days. So when they came back to class, we're all on the same page. So I think that's how you stay not falling behind, staying where you are. So that's great to hear.
Right, then our still at a deficit.
If I can just chime in a little bit, because I don't think you guys are giving yourselves enough credit. Last year, they sounded the alarm midway through the year, like, wow, what we're seeing is kids that are really struggling, especially with executive functioning. They were really struggling. I remember having discussion, I think, with each and every one of you. And so we pulled together a meeting with the freshmen and the sophomore instructors, and we really kind of thought about, okay, how are we going to target using same language? And then because of this school committee, we hired another adjustment counselor, and I think they will all agree that that was a huge move, and we saw improvement almost immediately because of that resource for our kids. So, last year was a little bit scary. I'm not going to lie. I think we can all agree it was a little bit scary. But this year things seem to be much better than how we started last year.
Mr. James.
Thank you, the five of you, for the energy that you can, I can just feel the energy in here. I can only imagine the energy that the kids are feeling. So thank you very much.
Dr. Testaverde.
Is Katrina going to be doing some kind of data focusing on the kids who are coming in and what's happening and looking at their grades or anything like that to keep us abreast of how successful these guys have been?
Yeah, we can definitely do that. But to add on, the boot camp was amazing, and it was the biggest one we've had, and those kids came in kind of excited to be here, which is rare. on the 1 week they had off. So it was, that also says something. There was no one dragging, no one was, had to keep saying, wake up, wake up. They all worked for the 4 hours they were here and they came in every single day. So,
Mr. Hurley.
but yes, we can get you some data.
2 years ago, I believe, actually, we're coming up to 3 years on the pandemic. These kids are probably sophomores now. They were in the 7th grade. The only reason why I know it was my grandson. And he was on Zoom all the time. Now, that particular class, which would be the sophomores, I believe. Do you see a big difference on the sophomores versus the seniors? Because they lost a whole year in school. They were on Zoom. I don't know how much they could learn.
So as a freshman teacher, we did notice some deficits in that group.
There you go, when they
We-
came in.
But we feel like they're making really
Progress.
great progress right now. I think that there's a lot of development that was happening in middle school that I didn't realize how important some of that development was. And I think it was interesting to see how that played out for those students. But we've worked, I think that was a huge piece of being a part of this group, was identifying the freshman class of last year, some of their needs. And the most incredible part of the entire thing was we identified problems and were met with wonderful, incredible solutions. And we've got so much support. Adding that adjustment counselor was life-changing as a teacher. I know that sounds interesting to say, but she is incredible. And she provided a service for our students that was absolutely essential and continues to do so. I think every person in this building is playing a role in making the experience.
The reason why I bring that up, my grandson loves it here, doing good. I was reading every month my bills come in, I was reading the cell phones. So I started seeing a big bump that particular year. He had 3,000 minutes. Never mind the phone plus messaging, another 3,000 minutes. So I said to him, George, this doesn't add up. You can't be doing your homework or doing your classwork and having all this stuff. He says, well, I forget about it. So I was on to that. No, really.
Sandy?
I was just wondering if you have plans for February and April as well.
Yes, definitely. Go ahead.
Yes. Yes. It'll be much the same, students who are in danger of failing again for a second term or have extenuating circumstances around attendance and stuff like that, so.
Attendance is a big issue. I mean, Mr. Leganis is always on it, the guidance staff is always on it. And I'm glad that you guys are also on that too.
A lot of enthusiasm, great presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Great
you.
job.
Thank you.
Principals report, Mr. Leganis.
Oh, he's here? The Sunday night voice.
By the way, my wife's from Somerville, but I extracted her out of Somerville. Yeah, wow, that's a tough act to follow.
It is.
So, good evening, Mr. Chairman, Superintendent Lynch, the rest of the school committee members. As you've heard about the winter sports, the seasons are going strong. A lot of teams are young and developing in their skills. I was able to cruise over to the Graff Arena and watch Amesbury Whittier hockey team play Triton. It's quite a operation over there. It was quite a game. We ended up losing, but there are 30 Whittier kids playing on that team, and that includes JV and varsity. So it's pretty neat to see it. So, if you can catch a game in the areas, you don't have to do hockey, but I'm partial towards the hockey. I've enjoyed it. And again, you heard about the boot camp and these unbelievable teachers, the Whittier boot camp, and yes, Mr. James, we myself and the guidance counselors meet, as you know, quarterly, and we look at the attendance and the grades, and we go after that, and with help with the learning loss crew, we're able to target the certain amount of kids, and the kids were fabulous. So you heard that we had over 30 kids show up every single day to this program, and that's over a holiday break, which is pretty amazing. Coming up next week, where staff and students are preparing for our midterm assessments. They'll start on Tuesday because we're celebrating Martin Luther King on Monday. And that's the 17th to the end of Friday, January the 20th. The grades 10 through 12 will follow the regular schedules. And then on Tuesday, Wednesday, week 2. So they'll have a week 2 schedule, Tuesday, Wednesday, on Thursday, Friday. It switches over to week 1 because we only have the 4 days. That's the upperclassmen. And then during that, as you heard, the midterm assessment, we have the freshman halftime show, which again, I pick on Mr. James here for the guidance.
Good memory.
All our freshmen will be experiencing engaging in presentations and activities throughout the week. And they start on Tuesday. Some examples, we have Skills USA presentation on Tuesday, upperclassmen question and answer, where kids can ask anything they want to the upperclassmen. And from our Wildcat series speakers that our vocational coordinators have put together, we're going to have a alumnus, Levi Strezpek. He was an advanced manufacturer that owns his own business. He's going to talk to the kids as well. Then on Wednesday, it's going to be all phys ed activities, get the kids out and about and playing. And then on Thursday, we're going to have guidance presentations, shop selections, clubs, and also freshman class advisors. And also on Thursday, we're going to have the Above the Influence crew. That's the crew that talks about the negative effects about drug use. And we're going to have a speaker coming in named Anthony Sideri from North Andover that's going to speak and, goes around to some of the area schools and talks about, his experience and with the drug use and how he's cleaned himself up. So that's going to be on Thursday. And then the fun continues on Friday for our freshmen and some team building activities. The Jenga, they're going to do towers and tug of war and some basketball challenge, but the most important thing, they're going to have an ice cream social at the end. So we're going to go ahead and have a little fun with them. And again, this is the time where they start jockeying, thinking about chops, what they're picking. It's the guidance is going to take care of all that. Before break, and Happy New Year to everybody. The staff and administration, we enjoy some fun activities together. And it's always a great fun activity when we can have a holiday potluck. So we have potluck. We had a couple of them before we left for break. And I know that I was trying to get the meetings, and Superintendent Lynch, I was like, come on up, let's have our meetings up at the potluck and we can eat all day up there if we have any meetings. But it was delicious. She's shaking her head.
You think
No.
it's easy.
So anyway, the potluck, it's a blast. It's just an opportunity for teachers to get in there and eat and bring in, special dishes. And we continue to do that. And we're looking for fun activities, and we're, planning for the future for the next crew. Also, the holiday fund raised over 17 grand. This past year, between Thanksgiving and the winter holidays, we were able to help approximately 75 families and students. They received this year, we did the Walmart cards, the Market Basket cards and store credit right here. They could come in and grab sweatshirts at our school store. And again, I want to thank everybody that donated, to the foundation and as a community, come together, and it's always for the kids. And then just a couple things, like I said, on Monday, we're going to celebrate Martin Luther King. We have a few things planned for Friday's announcements because we're going to have Monday off and, his life and legacy. And also, if you can believe it, we're flying by. Term 2 ends Friday, January 18th. January 25th, our midterm assessments are all due. And then report cards for term 2, January 27th is all there. So we're cruising right through, halfway through, and ready to rock and roll to the end. Before you know it, I'll see you all for graduation. So that's all I have for you today.
Any questions?
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Chris.
Happy New Year.
Business manager, Kara Costas.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Superintendent Lynch, members of the committee. As Mr. Leganis, well, first of all, Happy New Year to all. And as Mr. Leganis just said, we are halfway through the year. So what you have in your packet is the 6-month variance analysis. We are well on track this year. You will notice that there are a couple of quarterly transfers to major functional accounts. But you'll also notice that a lot of accounts do not have transfers, and the reason for that is basically what he just mentioned about how the students will be choosing their vocational areas. So we expect that there will be some changes to those accounts. So those are the things that we wait until the end of the year to balance, but we are on track and everything is running the way it should be.
Where do we stand with the buses?
The buses, as we talked about at the last meeting.
Yeah.
We have signed the agreement for the loan and the down payment. So we are buying the 17 buses.
You're buying them?
We're buying out the lease, yes.
Yeah, that's
We're
what I'm
buying
talking
them.
about, yeah.
And hoping that availability and prices will go down over the next year to year and a half. So we're going to keep looking at them and getting quotes for them. But right now it was just cost prohibitive to do the same.
What's a new
lease.
bus now? 70,000?
Oh, no, it's about 120. It's up about $40,000 a bus. And the price is problematic, but the other piece that's
Can't get 'em.
problematic is you can't get them. They're a year to a year and a half out.
How about the ones if you lease them from them?
Same thing. They can't
they
get them.
can't get 'em.
And the lease was almost $400,000. It was
The
crazy.
lease is more than,
Yeah, it was very expensive.
so you're on it.
Yep, we've already signed the paperwork. Next month I will be coming to you, asking you to appropriate the balance from the transportation account to pay the down payment. And this year's budget reflects the loan payment, which is about a $30,000 cost increment from the lease we were paying, but it would be that we would own these.
So you basically bought it out.
Yeah, we bought it out. It was a lot less money than trying to get new ones.
3 years ago, you wouldn't have looked at it like that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Moving on. Meeting chairperson. February annual agenda items, budget review. And we have to vote on the 2023 standard mileage rate set by the IRS.
And how much is it?
It's not 3 cents a gallon, 3 cents a mile. 65. 3 cents a mile. Any questions or comments on that? We have a motion.
Make a motion to accept the 2023 standard mileage rate.
Second.
Roll call vote. Mr. Early.
Yes.
Mr. Noyes.
Yes.
Mr. Copinger.
Yes.
Mr. Tucker.
Yes.
Mr. James.
Yes.
Dr. Testaverde.
Yes.
Mrs. True.
Yes.
Mr. Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Mr. O'Connor.
Yes.
Mr. Wood.
Yes.
Ms. O'Connor.
Yes.
Mr. Irving. Take that as a yes. Subcommittee reports, executive, we just met, so those minutes will be in next month's packet. Instructional personnel, Dr. Testaverde.
We have not met and I don't think we need to meet. So
Not right now.
I think perhaps in the spring.
Yes.
Thank you.
Plan ops, Mr. Tucker.
Did not meet.
Salary negotiations, Mr. Early.
We haven't met, and I don't believe we need to right now.
Not right now.
Thank God.
Policy, Mr. Irving.
Mr. Chairman, I move the minutes on December 14, 2022 for a vote.
Second.
Any questions or comments on that? All right, roll call, Mr. Early.
Yes.
Mr. Noyes.
Yes.
Mr. Copinger.
Yes.
Mr. Tucker.
Yes.
Mr. James.
Yes.
Dr. Testaverde.
Yes.
Mrs. True.
Yes.
Mr. Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Mr. O'Connor.
Yes.
Mr. Wood.
Yes.
Ms. O'Connor.
Yes.
Mr. Irving.
Aye.
Aye.
There we go.
I heard the aye.
I heard it too.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I move for second and final reading, the adoption of 50 new policy, the DA fiscal management goals, DBI Regional School District Annual Budget, DB-I-R Budget Appointment of Expenses of Regional Schools, DBC Budget Deadlines and Schedules, DBD Budget Planning, DBG-I Budget Procedure for Regional Schools, DEC Federal Fund Supplement, Not Supplant Policy, DGA I Regional School District Authorization Signatures. DH-I Regional School District Bonded Employees and Officials. DI Fiscal Accounting and Reporting. DIE-I Regional School District Audit. DJ Purchasing, DJA Purchasing Authority. DKI Regional School District Payment Procedures. DKC Expense Reimbursements. I move those 15 policies for second and final reading for approval.
Second.
Okay, anybody have any questions, comments on that? Mr. Noyce.
Yeah, I was talking to the superintendent earlier as regards DBIR. As I read through it, it seems pretty boilerplate. But if I were asked by one of the people I'm representing to explain it, I would not have a chance. So I'm gonna be talking to Kara about getting an explanation of it. And I just wanted to throw that out there in case other people are interested, so that, you know, we could get a group together to see that if, like I said, if they're interested.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Anyone else? Okay, roll call. Mr. Early.
Yes.
Mr. Noyce.
Yes.
Mr. Clover.
Yes.
Mr. Tucker.
Yes.
Mr. James.
Yes.
Dr. Testaverde.
Yes.
Mrs. True.
Yes.
Mr. Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Mr. O'Connor.
Yes.
Mr. Wood.
Yes.
Ms. O'Connor
Yes.
and Mr. Irving.
Aye.
Okay, meeting dates. Executive Subcommittee meeting will be February 8th at 5:30, just before the regular school committee meeting, which is February 8th at 6:30. There is no new business posted. There is no executive session posted.
Mr. Chairman,
To adjourn.
Okay, Mr. Early.
Yes.
Mr. Noyce.
Yes.
Mr. Sculpture. Mr. Tucker.
Yes.
Mr. Jane.
Yes.
Dr. Testaverde.
Yes.
Mr. True.
Yep.
Mr. Fitzgerald.
Yes.
Mr. O'Connor.
Yes.
Mr. Wood.
Yes.
Ms. O'Connor
Yes.
and Mr. Irving. Okay.
I think he was